So earlier we were discussing about integration maps. We saw some examples of mapping gender, how we map from Workday values to external data value that we see when we make the output and what we see in the integration output. So if you look at our integration system, I believe we saw in the last one, the gender. So in the system, the value for, say, Yuli Bowles if I look at the reference ID for gender, gender code is female. But if you look at our integration, our gender code is coming out to be F. And the reason behind that is if you look at the integration map, we have the internal value as female for gender and the external value we have requested it to be F. And this could be based or as a value of F or FE or whatever it may be, based on the integration parameters that is required by your integration partner. It could be internal or external.
So internal, external, like sex of this male or female can be changed. Like sometimes internal value could be male and external value could be female.
You can do that. Like for example, you can put say ND not declared in male or female as both as well. It all depends on as to how you want to put it. So if you want to switch, like if internal value is female and you want everything out to be put out as male, that is possible as well.
Okay.
It all depends on your specification as to how your benefit provider, in this case, your provider or receiver is processing the information. For example, if I take example of a benefit and your benefit provider or your benefit provider, for example, it's for vehicle charging, for example, and you have an integration where you send all the data to your worker and they say that, it doesn't make any difference for us whether like we don't gender discriminate. So for everyone send male.
Okay.
Or everyone send not declared. So internally you have all the male, female, not declared values available and you want to send everybody as say null.
Okay. Null and void?
Yeah. NULL, you can send that value or nil or whatever that value may be. Okay. So it all depends on your configuration specification as to what values you have in your system and what values you need to send. And there's a possibility that if you don't want to send gender at all, you can remove this from your integration field override.
Okay.
But you have the mapping option available, which comes in quite handy when you're developing your integrations.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay. So next, after integration maps, comes the transaction logs. That's a very critical area of integration as well. So provides a record of business process and events in Workday. Integrations can subscribe to specific transaction log events to capture changes to employee data that are relevant to an external system. Some connectors, including job posting, location, and competency, do not include a transaction log service, as the underlying Workday web service get location does not include it. So if you need to have transaction logs enabled in your system, which, as you can see, that we don't have it. And if I look at the integration events, so if I open a last completed integration event, let's keep everybody muted. So unless you would like to speak, then unmute yourself. But then you can keep yourself muted so everybody is here, can focus on the session. So you have this option for consolidated reports and logs. And when you click on this, you can retrieve the log files. And these 3 log files would include all the transaction logs for this particular integration. Now you have an option for a transaction log service as well. If I go to configure integration services, and you have the worker transaction log and the worker qualification, worker transaction log section service. So your core connector worker will provide you the transaction logs for a customer as to what has changed as a log, including in your output. So let's enable this and rerun this integration, and let's see the difference as to what we get. Let's see if we have to configure any attributes for that. Yep. And let's say, let's include everything for now. And let's rerun this process that we ran earlier. Integration event. And today is 320. So let's put 319. Oh, 11:59 p.m. Oh, last successful should be, sorry, 313. I will just pull it for these 2 workers as well. I don't want a full file. I'm just looking for change files. Now, if I look at my output file, if I go to my parent event, I look at my output file now. Oh, that's log. I think we would require the full file to be run for this. And relaunch. Let's grab the file. Where is our log? We enable include and output for transaction log data service, 6 item included and output. Non full file integration done. So unless they're transaction log with full file, yeah, not involved in. So if it's rescinded or corrected, okay, let's try one thing. Let's do a correction on one of the activities that we did. So history, there we go. Let's say business process. And overall process, I want to correct it or resend it. So I cannot correct it, but let's go ahead and resend it. Integration system. Let's say integration event. Let's relaunch this. After the resend that we performed on Yuli, but that is today. So we have to make sure as of entry movement is current movement. And this we can keep the effective date can be towards the end of the month. Let's remove the full file flag and let's check. So what is her title now? So it's really balls. Status active, position, operation is none. And it says manager IT operation. Now this should have a transaction log here as well. I'm not sure why it's not showing. Check one thing. The changes, let's validate it. We are seeing that change. Virtually balls. So IT operations supervisory, and we can see that the status is manager IT operations, where they had rescinded the senior manager IT operations. But where is our transaction log? No, it should not be here. It should be in the output. Is rescinded, is corrected. Let's check. We have the hire rescinded, and this goes to the next employee. All right, I will check it out as to why the transaction logs are not showing on this tenant. I'll put a pin on this and come back to you on this in the next session as to why this is not showing. Whereas it should include the transaction logs of what has changed in your integration. And it'll show you in a log format. We have enabled it here, include an output. Try one more time, just launching it as a fresh. Let's see. So effective date is the 31st as of entry moment. Let's say current moment. Successful, let's say 01. Okay. So again, this is a change file. I'm running it for from 28 till today. Yeah.
Is there a way we can also do an inbound, or only inbound is via EIB?
Of course, you can do an inbound core connector as well. It's not, I would say it's not called an inbound, but then your integration, or it won't be a core connector. It would be a web service that would be coming into your system and connecting to your Workday platform via the web services, and then processing the request. Your inbound could be where you are collecting or fetching data from an external source. Like you're collecting a file, say from your Active Directory or from your payroll provider or somewhere else, and then you are running that integration. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, yeah, perfect. So, are there any integration attributes mapping which is to be done, because there's a third-party service which is integrating with our web service to
We look
the
at the web
files.
services. It is part of the course, so we look at a web service.
Okay, perfect.
So in here, I opened up the whole of March, and let's see if we're getting any transaction logs included in this. Do we have? This is not working. Forget it. So 447. I'll have a look at it. I'll have a go at it as to why this transaction log is not showing up, whereas it should in my opinion. For example, this is the first record is UD Bowls, which is the latest one. And effective, organize, add. We'll come back to the transaction log in the next session. I'll figure out as to why it's not including in the output. Whereas our integration system, we have configured it accordingly. So worker transaction log data section field. So we've included it. We have included it in our attributes as well, in our field overrides. So it should be included. Only thing. This is probably the reason. Use transaction log with full file only. So if selected transaction log enable will be used for full file extract. Okay. One more attempt, and then otherwise we'll put it at rest, and I'll check it out as to why it is not. Coding full file. No, I'm not still seeing it. I'll come back to it again. I'm not sure why the transaction log is not pulling in, but I'll figure it out and revert back on it. Right, so next part of our integration is document transformation. So when the receiving system of your outbound integration requires a file format, other than Workday XML, then you need to have a document transformation. So document transformation can be added to the design pattern to transform the output into the format required. It is reasonable if restricted to 3 or less transformation, runs in 2 hours or less, or document transformation was specifically designed to work with connectors. So document transformation is needed when you need to translate this XML data into a different output, either format or calculations, or however you would like to put it. So for example, let's take our integration. And let's say we need to transform some of the data. So what we will need to do is we'll need to create an XSLT format based on our XML values. Let's come back here. So this was for our 2 employees. I'll close the other ones. First, we need to get our XML. So you can use an XML writer if you have access to it, or you can use a simple notepad to create your XSL. Let's take our basic style sheet parameters. Workday sync, we're using the version 2 and Workday XCT. So basically what we are concerned about is our worker sync that we are going to use in our system. And say, for example, other data set that we need to put in here. See, the output is indented, method is XML, encoding is UTF, variable name is line feed, and I'm asking to select the data between the apostrophe and the template matches worker sync. Then let's say I need a file separator for each record. So what I've done is I've created my file separator. This is my XSL header. XCC separator is going to be semicolon. Then I have all my headings that I'm using. Say employee ID, business title, the manager's name, cost center, and so on. And then for every value, for staffing event, I'm saying I have a choose. Then when staffing event is blank, then give me this value, which is right here in my XML. Say staffing. So for this to be an expert on or to be able to work with XML and XSLT, one needs to know or should have good knowledge of XML and XSLT, or at least XML as to how to read and write XML codes. Say stuffing. See, where's our stuffing event? Status, control find SDF. In one of the files, I think it was earlier, I'll check it out. So this is number 14. Gender, mailing address, position, status, not this one. Status, okay. Position ID, status, there's our status. Well, let's take a look at another one. So in this, it's taking for employee ID tag, XML begin tag, XML end tag, and value of select, WS summary / WS employee ID. So under worker, summary, and then employee ID. So bring that data out as an output file. But in some cases, we have added some configuration or logics that for address line 1, say select personal address. So let's go to personal position. Okay, we don't have the personal one here. Position. Let's say this is a business site address. It would be say worker position, and under position, it would say business site, address line data. And if the type, address type, so we have a logic here on the address type. So here we don't have the address type, but say it's business site or site name is Atlanta. So for address type, it was say it was Atlanta. If it does match, then continue forward and get me the data from address line 1. So you can create logics based on your requirements within your XSLT. And what is your output going to be? Is it going to be CSV? Is it going to be, again, XML? Do you want it in JSON format? So whatever formatting and changes and configurations that you would like to do, the manipulation of data, and if you want to put conditions and logic. For example, here it says compensation operation, check for add or modify. If either of the two is there, one of the conditions is met, bring in the compensation / effective date. And then you have your when condition, otherwise, choose, and so on. So you can put all these kind of conditions within your XSLT to create an output in a manipulated format the way you would like to set it up for. And XSLT has a large variety. You can put your document format type. You can put your headers. You can put logics in there. You can set up transformations. You can do calculations. You can do lookup values. You can do if then else or choose otherwise else. And so many conditions that are available in your XSLT. It's just like coding. But in order to understand this coding or language or manipulate it, you must understand XML, which is this, and XSLT language to write and modify and understand this code. Though it's fairly simple, but it needs some experience, working experience or knowledge of coding, or at least some development experience to understand XML and XSLT. So document transformation, integration using document transformation are built in the tenant. Using the integration business process, you can retrieve and deliver documents. Additionally, you can string multiple integration systems together. So as you were asking, sir, that can we retrieve a document? Yes, we can retrieve a document, either from Workday itself, or we can retrieve the document from an external source using our business process. So this is a way to eliminate the limitation of EIB to only have one data source, one transformation, and one delivery endpoint without having to use Studio. You do not need to be familiar with XML technologies like XSLT, XPath, etc. You do need to be familiar with XML technologies like XSL, XPath, etc. And if you're processing large sets of data using multiple web services calls, need complex logging and error processing, you may still want to consider using Studio as well, which we will look at it at a later stage. So let's look at an integration system that already has, let's see. Let's look at this document transformation. If it has it, is it being used? So integration system, file attachment services. So none of the document has been attached here. But let's look at the XSLT that is available in the system. Okay, say gender. So let's download this. And here you can see it's a very simple XSLT. So it says your separator is colon. For each row, include employee ID. So WS summary employee ID, employee name, eligibility, gender, and here says it's not doing any transformation here. It's just pulling the data and putting it by each row. So let's go back. Let's have a look at this. Okay, let's have a look at this event. So this was the output file in CSV format. Let's open this up. Data from text. Limited, and the divider is type. So this is what this transformation has done. So in full name, it's bringing a name, employee ID, gender, business title, employee ID in a CSV format. Let's look at the integration that it was part of. Let's look at the parent integration. So integration system was Vijay CCW DT. And the integration system, the document transformation he is using. So this is a so this is your integration system, and this is the document transformation that is associated with it. So if we look at it, so it has document transformation. This is the DT and this is the DT as well. It's integration system. Event. Issue integration system. So this is the integration based on core connector worker. Again, similar services that are enabled. Position status, personal ID, field overrides for custom fields, custom integration services. Then if you look at the business process definition, it would be a little different than just simple delivery to XML. So it would have a separate step for integration, where after the integration is fired, you have an integration service, which is calling your document transformation integration, which is right here, which we opened right here. So your document transformation, so you use the integration template called document transformation. These services are enabled by default. Remember the XML tag I was talking about, or document tag that you were talking about, input document, output document. So your output document tag here in our integration your document tag CCF_CCW tag could also be linked here as well as your input document tag. And it has an attachment for XSLT, which was written by this person. And you can say Vijay transformation CSV XML. And we opened it and we saw that this is the document, or this is the XSL that he's using to do the document transformation. So file record separator is pipe, column name, employee ID, gender, business title, and manager employee ID. And these are your titles or column names right on the top. And then you have, that's your file separator. Then XSL for each record, the separator is pipe. And then you're getting the name, the employee ID, the gender, the business title, and the manager employee ID. And of course, then you have your XML tags accordingly. So let's go ahead and run this integration. And let's say launch. Oh. As of today and last successful, let's say, that's fine. And then run a change file. If I look at the integration event, our parameters are right here. It's not a full file. So the integration event has completed. It outputted an XML file, output.xml. Now, if I look at the parent event, this should be completed by now as well. But then I would have a different output file. In addition to output XML, I have this Vijay CCW out January 23 CSV. And because we added the integration document transformation event, so outputted the file, and then it ran the integration event, the CCWDT. And then it did the transformation based on our XML and gave us the output file of CSV. And if I open this file, see the data in CSV. Say if I import it again from text, same file that we just downloaded. Find the separator, delimited. It's a new worksheet. So in the same workbook, in the new sheet, I would have my data separated by pipe and then formatted like this. And this is what your XSLT can do at the least.